Welcome back, guys. Welcome back once again. So, today we'll be learning the web design fundamentals, how to make your website really, really beautiful. And the goals include one, we'll understand what makes a website good. And then we'll learn basic design principles. We'll also discover how to make websites user friendly, and we'll apply color theory and typography basics. And then we'll also improve our existing projects with design principles. So what is web design? Web design is how websites look and work. It combines arts, like making things pretty, and science, making things work. Art and science. The art is where you see it appealing, really, really nice, really, really beautiful. And the science, which are the functionalities you have inside the website. And then, why does design matter? You know that first impressions matter, right? And it happens in milliseconds. When you look at a website and the first thing that comes to your head is, should I keep going or should I just leave this page? Yeah, that's why when you are designing your own website, which you will do in the future, when you're designing yours, there are certain things you should look out for so that when people go into your website, into your page, they want to stay and see other things you want to talk about. Not when they come to your website, they feel like, nah, this is not it. Nah, this is not it. It doesn't make sense. They just leave and look for somewhere else. Okay? Now, good design builds trust. Bad design frustrates users, like I said. If you go into a website, a web page that doesn't look good, you'll be frustrated. You'll be looking for where this part of the website is. What did they even design here? That's what you'll keep telling yourself. And design affects how people feel about your website. Personally, if I come to a website and it doesn't look appealing, I wouldn't even want to go further. I get frustrated immediately and I search for another website related to that topic. Just something that will keep me calm. Okay? We don't like stress. So I wouldn't even advise you to do something that will make your clients, the users frustrated. So now there are design principles, design processes. The first step of design is to plan. Okay, before you build your website, you need to plan. Who is your website for? You don't randomly open your VS Code and just start doing whatever thing you want to do. You have to first of all sit down and plan. Who am I actually building this for? Is it for children? Is it for a business? Okay, you have to have this in your head already, how you want your website to be. And then the second thing is to sketch. You know what I mean? Sketch it out if it's possible for you. You try to draw that you want to have your nav bar looking like this. You want to have an image to fill up the width of the next thing you want to have should be an image. And then you want to have boxes. And you sketch it out. It's actually very doable and it will help you. Once you're done with a nav bar, you can say, okay, the next thing I want to do is this. You do it. You should have something like already planned out in your head that this is how your website is going to look like. And then you build. Okay, the next step is to build it. This is the part where you start creating your HTML structure or designing what you want. Using CSS, you style it how you want it to be. And then the next step is to test. How do you test? You test by asking people around you. You ask others because as you're working on it, you don't really know if it's actually good enough. In your head, you might think this is perfect. But mind you, some people see things differently. If you take that web page to your friend, they might actually see something that you did not notice. Maybe a part that was too bright that you thought was okay. They'll help you. You point it out. You show a lot of people, like your friends, your family members, okay? That then they will help you and analyze it for you. They tell you this is nice, this is not okay. And improve. That's the next step. The next step is to improve. That is to make it better. Okay, now when you get this, when you ask those people close to you, when you ask them to analyze the website you built, the next thing is to make it better. If they point out something, immediately go and check out what they are talking about and try to fix it. Okay, these are the design processes. Now, the next thing is to know your audience, like I said before. Who will visit your website? What do they want to do there? So these are the questions you need to ask yourself, or which you'll be told before you start building a website. What would they be doing there? And what devices will they use? Example, a kids game site. This one is an e-commerce for sales, and it's actually for kids. You make it colorful, simple, and then the navigation should be there and it should be really visible for them to understand. When they get into your web page, they already see the navigation bar, whether it's on the top or side. Everything should be structured, okay? The next thing you need to know are the core design principles. I'll be listing them out while I break them down later. The first one is balance. The other one is contrast. The next one is emphasis. The other is unity. And then we will explore each one. Now for balance in design is simply distributing elements evenly on the page. Okay, you don't just go about and you drop an image here, then the next thing you remember that, okay, I want to put a box, and then you go and use a div element and create something like a box just anywhere lying around. It will not be structured, it will not make sense. So what you need to do is to follow this principle called balance. How do you do this? There are two types. You have the symmetrical balance and you have the asymmetrical balance. And the symmetrical balance is where you design your elements to be even on both sides. You want everything to be like half. You have this here and you have another thing here. And then there's an asymmetrical balance where the sizes are different, but they are still balanced. Let me show you what I mean. This is an image here where it is evenly, this is the symmetrical balance. And you can see here that it has the same space here, has the same space here, and the boxes are even. Okay, it has the same width and height, same space here is the same space here, same space here, and then equal space both sides. This is the symmetrical balance. You don't just go and decide to just carry a box here and drag it here, carry another one, drag it here, carry another one, drag it here. It will make your website boring and actually annoying. Okay? Now this is the asymmetrical balance. You can see that everything, it's not equal. This is one side and this is another, but it still looks pleasing to the eye. Do you know why? Because on the right side, even though it is not an equal width with the left side, it is still what? Balanced. It has four sections here. 1, 2, 3, 4 with equal spacing, while this one comes by the left side. So everything is still nice to your eyes. It is not messed up. This is the asymmetrical balance. And then the next thing you should note is contrast in design. Okay? Now this is where you make different elements stand out from each other. What do I mean by that? For example, when you have a dark text, you already know that the background color where the text is should be light. Because how can you have a dark text and your background color is dark? Let's say you have a black text color, and then you now make the background color of where that text is to be black as well. It will be invisible. It will not, no, your users will find it so hard to read what you are trying to put in there. They will see it as, what am I even supposed to see here? Can you see this background, this image I have here, where I have the black background and it has a white text? Yes, this is a good design because they are trying to make it readable so that the user can easily see what is being written. This is another one, blue with what? A white text. Then a white background with what? A black text. This is how you have to add contrast to your design. Then another contrast principle is having big headings and then smaller paragraph. You don't come to your website and you just keep using the H1. Okay, the H1 is meant to highlight the most important part, which is the title. Okay, now there's an opportunity for you to use the H2 elements, use the H3, just like here. They use the H1 to highlight the most important thing, and then what came next was what? A paragraph. Okay, now this is what you call contrast, and also using colorful buttons on neutral backgrounds. Okay, now this is what I mean by that. This is a background, and then these are two buttons just to add a pop to the design. It's not just about knowing these elements, it's about actually knowing how to fully use them. When you are building a website, it's not just about knowing how to use the video tag, the table tag. It's about knowing how to structure it in such a way that when people go check it out, they know that you really know what you are doing, that this is really nice. So the next thing we need to learn is the emphasis in design. What do I mean by emphasis? This is the part where you make important things stand out. Like size. When you use the bigger size, like I explained in contrast, when you use bigger size, you know that it is actually for something more important. Like you can see this image right here. This is a website, and the gift cards anywhere, gift 10 cards anywhere is the most important thing they want you to know about this. Okay, they use a good color. You have to use bright colors, grab attention, but you don't use it too much. Then space. Everything is not clustered, and they are what? Evenly aligned. This is it. It has space for your elements to breathe. You don't need to cluster everything together. The next thing is unity. This is where all parts work together as a whole. Consistent colors, fonts, and style. Elements that look like they belong together. This is where you weld your entire website together. You know that you want to use 2 colors. You should stick with using 2 colors. You don't just decide to use purple now and the next line you add red. You don't just add. You're not building a shrine. You're not building a shrine. You should make colors meaningful. You are using the neutral and bright, something like that. You should make it in such a way that it is not too much for the eyes. It doesn't hurt your eyes. Okay? Now the F pattern in design is, it's a pattern where people, you know how the F is drawn? People read, when people come to your webpage, they check the top, they come down, go across, like from left to right, and they're just scanning through. They don't just, when you open a website, you don't read it like a book. Most of the time, you don't read it step by step. You scan through, like, check out the next thing, and then check the bottom, left side, top is the first thing they always check. And then you should know that same way you observe other websites is the same way people will observe your own. So if you know those places that the eyes go to, you should make sure you add important things towards that direction. That way that people scan through a web page is where you should know that you will drop important details, okay? So the next thing we'll be talking about is white space. White space or empty space. I know when you hear white space, you think it must be a white color or white background. No. White space is just equal to empty space. And empty space is not wasted space. I didn't say you should leave your web page scanty, but it helps focus attention on content. If you can see this right here, this is an image telling you the difference between white spaces and clustering. Okay, now if you take a look at this image here, you can see that it's breathing. The image, the text, the line spacing is there. You can see that they are not clustered together. Unlike this one, where the H1 is too big, it's trying to seep into another thing, trying to seep into the image, not properly aligned. And the texts are just meshed together. Okay? So this is bad web design. This is very, very bad. You should always leave your website to breathe. The elements, you mustn't pack everything together. There is always space for more. So that's one good thing you should note. White spaces are really, really good. Like, for instance, let me show you this. You have already seen you've seen your link school online. You've seen it before, and while it loads, we will continue. So you should have, one thing that the white space does is it makes your website feel clean and organized. Everything will be well structured. And when you have too little space is equal to clustered and hard to read. To be honest with you, when I go to a website and all the words are merged together, buttons all clustered together, I get so tired, I get frustrated, and I would not want to do that to myself. I don't stress myself trying to check it out anymore. Okay, so while this is loading, I would have wanted to show you what a good website looks like. Okay, you can see that there are a lot of spaces here. Can you see? So having spaces doesn't mean that it is a waste. The lines are not clustered together. You can see enough space here, enough space here, enough space around for other things to breathe. This is when you come to a website that looks like this, you want to read through it, right? You want to read through and know what it gives you access to see more content in there. Now, the next thing we have to learn is color theory basics. Okay, colors create feelings and moods. You design a website based on what it is actually about. Okay, and this is where you apply the color wheel, the primary, secondary, and tertiary colors. You already know your primary colors, the yellow, red, and blue. Tertiary colors, you already know them, yellow, green, and the rest of it. You know your secondary colors, orange, violet, and what? Green. Now, you should know how to properly combine these colors to get a pretty web page. Now, the color relationships, the complementary color are the colors opposite each other in the color view, like how you have this one. Opposite this, blue opposite this shade of orange, and the red opposite green. And you can see this one opposite the other. This is assuming you are working on a website and you want to add two colors. Most of the time, it's actually advisable to use complementary colors. Like, you have a website that you're using blue. Most of the websites will be the color blue. You can decide to not leave it as just blue, and you can also decide to leave it as blue and just use different shades of blue. But if you want to add a pop of color, you have to use the complementary color of blue. So when you are trying to pick two colors, like when you know that one is more, and then you just want to add something else that will make sense, you have to make use of your color wheel. The colors opposite each other work best in situations like that. Let's say, for instance, you've seen the Link School app. Now, this is a blue website, blue, and then it's actually blue and orange because they are complementary colors. Now, it's blue, and since I don't want it to just be strictly blue, which I can, I decided to use another color, and I used the orange for just some parts, like icons, and now your website will be looking better this way. You can decide to use one shade of color and then in different shades of that same color. Okay, but then if you want to match two colors, it's always best to go and look out for the complementary colors and use for your website. Okay, and another one is analogous color. Analogous colors next to each other, like this. For instance, these ones next to each other are the analogous colors. Then we also have monochromatic shades. This is different shades of one color, like I said. Now, this is this is one color in different shades. This is another color in different shades. This is one in different shades. This is another color. And you can use it this way for your website as well. Just pick a color and then different shades of it. You can work with it and it will still come out nice. If you decide to merge three colors, you pick it this way, it will still come out nice. Okay, now the color meanings. There's always a psychology behind every color you see. The color red means excitement, energy, attention. The color blue means trust, calm, reliability. The color green means nature, growth, health. And then the yellow means happiness, optimism, warning as well. The purple means creativity, luxury, mystery, a whole lot of colors with their own meaning. Just like this, in branding, most brands go for the yellow, like this one you're seeing here is a McDonald's. And they use it because they want to showcase what? Optimism, warmth, clarity, and hunger. Okay. Now, these ones are the orange, which means friendly, cheerful, confident. You use these colors based on what you're trying to project. Okay. Now, the blue here for the, you've seen the HP. This is the logo. The logo is blue. You've seen Twitter, the old Twitter, the X we have now. The Twitter is blue and it's actually for trust, the strength, dependable, futuristic. All these colors have a psychology behind them. So as you're working on the website, you have to still, as you're planning, you have to check that if you're trying to build a colorful website for kids, you already know that you're going for so shade or another shade, depending on the mood you're trying to project. Okay. Now, choosing a color scheme, like I said, using 2 or 3 main colors is usually enough. Consider one primary color as your main color, then one secondary color as your supporting color, and then one accent color just for buttons and highlights. These accent colors are mostly bright and you don't use it a lot of time, just for certain places, maybe 2 times in a page, like buttons, just a little something you want people to notice. Okay, so 3 colors, 2 to 3 colors max. You don't go and mix red, orange, blue, green for just one page, one web page. You don't go merge all the colors in the world to beautify it. To become too much and too messy. Then there is something called the font rules. Okay, you use no more than 2 to 3 fonts per website. Make sure fonts are readable, and size matters. Headings are always bigger than paragraphs. If you want your heading to stand out, it should be bigger than your paragraph, obviously, because if not, then that means all you have throughout your web page are just headings throughout, and that's not nice. Like this one here. Also remember that the contrast I taught you in the beginning. I said dark text on light background and vice versa. That is light text on light background. And line spacing, you shouldn't cluster it too much. You shouldn't be too tight and not too loose. Just like here, this website, this one is looking bad because somehow they used the same, it's clustered. There's no space, and the font style they use is, there's no way you will know what they're talking about here. Now, these are the same, they are trying to showcase the same thing here. And here, you already know that they're trying to talk about Thursday. They highlighted it using this. But this particular page, this particular picture, you don't know the difference between the Thursday and the Friday. They just go in a straight line. It doesn't make sense. It is not a good design. Okay, and then the spacing is compulsory. Remember that it's not too much, and it's actually, the spacing is not too much, and it's not too tight either. So this makes a good website. Now remember as well to add images in your web design. Images make your website interactive, really beautiful. Okay, choose high quality, relevant images. Then resize images to fit your design, as always. Use alternative text for accessibility. I told you what the alt does, which stands for alternative. So let's say your image isn't showing. That alt you have in your image tag should be where you say what that image is. If you put an image of a flower, your alt should say a yellow flower, something like that, just in case something happens and that particular image you put in there doesn't reflect in your browser. Okay. And navigation designs. Remember, we have already learned how to design a navigation bar before now. So you should be able to make your navigation good. Keep it simple and consistent. Okay? Users should always know where they are, where they can go, and how to get back. Not when they get to a page, that particular page will not have any button that will take them back to the next page. It will not, you will not see the navigation bar anymore, or at least a button that sends them back. Okay? So you should have, that's where the user experience comes in. You should have in mind that this is how you feel when you go to different websites, and you should make sure that whatever frustrates you in another person's website shouldn't frustrate your users in the ones you created. You should take note of what you don't like about certain websites and be able to make yours good. And it should be mobile friendly. I told you something about responsive design in the beginning of this whole web development. I taught you about making your website responsive. That is, when you see a particular website on your mobile phone and you see it on your tablet, you still see it in your laptop. That is a bigger screen, right? They all look good. So when you're working on a website, you should have that in mind that some people most of the time use their phones to access the web page, most of the time. So you should start designing it to fit a phone screen size first before any other thing. Okay, you should next thing is the visual hierarchy. This is arranging elements by importance. This is the technique where you use the bigger size to highlight what you want people to notice, just like here where they use the side of waiting for your meal and they use it to highlight what's most important to them. Color. They use this color here to get attention. When you look at that page, you are already stuck. You'll be like, okay, this is nice. It looks really, really, really nice. And then position, top, center, equal to more important. The top and the center is always where the focus is. And then remember the white space. Can you see this place? Nothing is clustered. The white spaces are there. Like I said, the white spaces doesn't mean it has to be a white background. I'm just talking about the extra spaces you are seeing, okay? Consistency in design. You have to use the same style throughout your website. You don't just go and pack. If you're using the two colors, you have to maintain two colors throughout the whole design. Using two, good. Not when you go to one page, it's now purple, the other page is red. And fonts. If you're using two fonts, you're using two fonts throughout the website. You should make it like, it should be nice, okay? And button styles should remain the same. Then spacing as well. Then there are common design mistakes, okay? These are the common design mistakes where you use too many colors or fonts, or when you use text that are too hard to read, when you make your text too tiny. Can you see this design here? And another bad design is a clustered page, okay, with no white space, and then confusing navigation or slow loading large images. Now, can you see these images I have here, the two images? One, you can't really see where the navigation bar is. Everything is just so messy. Okay, I don't really know what's going on here, but you can look at this. It's almost the same thing, but you can see that this makes sense more, where they are talking about this is the title here, this is the button, this is navigation bar. So this is a better design than this. Not perfect, but a better design than this one that has everything all over the place. Now the design checklist. you have to check if your content is easy to read. Okay, make important things stand out. You ask yourself, do important things really stand out? You go through your web page and you analyze this. Then, is my navigation clear? That navigation bar I created, is it really clear enough for people to know that, okay, this is supposed to be where they are meant to go to another page? Are my colors working well together? When you put two colors that do not make sense, in your head, you already know that, is this actually okay? That's where you get people, you do your research and go for a better color, the colors that merge together. Now, does it look good on phone? And does everything feel consistent? These are the things you need to check out to make sure that your design is perfect. Now, the design activity or website makeover, you should get any design you have already, any of the files you have, and apply a consistent color scheme. Then you fix text contrast and readability. I have already taught you these terms I'm saying now. Then you make sure you add white space. That will be our next project. We'll create something where we apply every principle we have already learned today. We'll create clear visual hierarchy and make navigation clearer. Now, there are places you can get design inspiration, and these include the awards.com, and it's kid friendly. You have Pinterest for web design boards, and you have other students' websites. You can get inspiration from other websites, okay? You can also get inspiration from your favorite website when you want to work on something. And now there are design tools for beginners. You have the color pickers, which are colors.co, Adobe Color. You have font pairs, which is font pair. Free images, you can get them from Unsplash, Pixels. You can even get them from Pinterest. And icons, you can get them from Flat Icon, Google Material Icons. Now, next thing you need to note is accessibility in design. You have to design for everyone, including people with disabilities, okay? Basic considerations include good color contrast. You can see here, they only use this shade, this blue, but then in different shades. You can see blue here, darker blue, lighter shade, just blue, okay? And if you want to use a color, you use it well. You consider that some people are color sensitive and a whole lot of things. You have to have clear readable fonts and then alternative text for images and also keyboard navigation. Getting feedback, like I told you, ask others to look at your design. Questions to ask include, what stands out first to you when you look at my website? If they tell you that this is what stands out, that means and that's what you want to stand out, you're doing a good job. But if I tell you that this is something that stands out, you go and reduce the size and increase where you want to stand out, okay? Now, can you find specific information? Your website has to be meaningful. Now, you ask them, can they find specific information in your website? And they tell you, yes. That means you're doing a good job. Now, you ask them as well, what do you like or dislike about my website? And then they'll give you the feedback. You also ask them if anything is confusing. Okay, now applying design to your projects, step-by-step process. 1, review your existing project. 2, identify design problems. 3, apply one principle at a time. 4, get feedback. And 5, make adjustments. So today, what did we learn? We learned basic design principles. We learned color theory and typography. We learned the visual hierarchy and layout. We also learned user-friendly navigation and how to improve existing designs. Our assignment is to create a one-page website that includes a header with a title and logo, a navigation bar, at least 2 sections, then a footer. Use colors, fonts, and layout rules that you've learned. Okay, because in our next class, we'll actually create a web page from the navigation to the footer. We'll create one. But then before then, I would want you to try out these principles on your own. So see you in our next one, guys. Bye-bye.